Okay, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Good, thank you.
Can you all hear us?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Welcome to the City of Red Oak Blue Ribbon Committee for People with Disabilities. This is the meeting for March 15, 2023. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And the first item that we have is to review and approve the minutes of February 15th. And you should have them there with you on page 2 pages. So we want to take a few minutes to look at those.
So I need a picture of your back. Nothing. Thank you.
Sí, ahora porque todas las
Todos andan muy bailan.
It's ready to rain, so I'll go work. Okay, you give it to one of the money. You guys have some paper per hours. The kids can receive services. And the
And bring Billy and they're we're doing it together with this.
So we can revisit that item, the approval of minutes, because we can't make an action, you're missing one person. Sorry.
So we're missing, we need 6. 3, 4, 5.
So we need one more.
Yeah.
In person.
Okay, so the minutes, unfortunately we can't approve them, but you all have looked at them. There are any changes or revisions that need to be made? Yes, ma'am.
Kelsey, I'm looking at this really long paragraph, having problems with my eyes, which is no surprise because I'm so old. But I need your help. Does it show anywhere in Christine Reyes' report that we introduced a new member to our team? I'm looking for it and I don't see it.
Would you reintroduce us?
We haven't, when was this?
No.
Iris, we met Iris last year.
Oh, Iris has been here before.
Before the last one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what may have happened is that we had met Iris before, so that may be the reason why we kind of like,
Oh, okay.
She's one of
Okay.
them.
And she is,
didn't have it before.
she
Or no,
is notated in the guests. Under
Then
guests.
the other, I guess it's a point of order, I guess, under section D, it simply says letter of appreciation to Mayor, Dr. Trevino. We didn't specify the nature of the letter, and I guess, the question would be, where are we on that? And that's it.
Okay. Yeah, the letter of appreciation was primarily thanking him that he is continuing with the committee. And the second item was him allowing us to continue as members because he has the option of appointing whomever he chooses. And
Right,
so,
but it doesn't specify there the nature of our request, and, I wanted to find out where we are on that.
We actually had to end the meeting early because there wasn't enough members here, so we didn't touch on that topic at all. It cut early.
No, we didn't cut early, we cut very late and therefore
Yes.
lost quorum and did not have a quorum to complete the
That's
meeting, so that
right.
was still on the table. Mhm.
Correct, okay.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
so you're making reference that we didn't get to what, Dr. Withinger?
On section D, I was just asking where we were on the letter, and that if the nature of the notes do not specify, it just simply says the subject, which is letter to Dr. Trevino, our mayor.
Okay,
But I was, seeking a possible, second sentence maybe,
sure.
or an explanation, that we wanted to send a letter of appreciation for his faithfulness to continue on this journey. And then the other thing was just a question about Miss Iris, that's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
well,
So, Chair, if I may, so Dana's right. What happened is I think that we bounced around the topics. We didn't go in order for some good reason, I'm sure. And so then as we came, it got kind of long and then we ended it. And I don't think we ever got to
Right,
the love appreciation.
right,
I didn't have anything to put in there.
right. Yeah, that's correct.
no, you're right. Some of the items that were there were advanced, okay, because they came at one point or another. And I'm not sure, I think Erica may have had an opportunity to speak on some of those, and so she brought those up, okay? And so they kind of like got mixed, okay, in the order. But regardless, we can make those annotations and we can make those changes. I don't know. Jen, are you still making the minutes yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so regardless of whether we include that or not, I guess in today's discussion, we did meet with the mayor. And so there is some follow-up discussion regarding that, okay? Which Dr. Withinger was here as well. And Diana.
No, Ceci, I didn't make it.
You didn't make it?
No.
What request?
The
The
mayor's
mayor, remember,
office.
I had to bail out because I had another.
Oh, that's right, you were here.
Yes, it was Ceci, yourself, Dr. Rutherford.
Yeah, that was students, okay. So we'll follow up with that.
I don't know what was that.
How is that?
No, I heard my name being mentioned, and I didn't hear what about, did I do something?
You
For
were
the
com-
meeting
for
with
the
the
meeting
mayor.
with the mayor.
You were
Oh, yes,
present.
yes.
Yeah, you were here, so I'm sure that we have some information for the group right now. Okay, so since we don't have 6 members present here at the meeting, I guess we can hold back from approving the minutes until the next time we meet.
Yes.
Okay, until we have a group of 6 at least,
Mhm.
okay?
Very good.
But we can make the changes, Dr. Ruthinger, to that last sentence to include the items that to make it more explicit regarding the letter to the mayor.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So we're gonna table the vote on that. Next item is the public comment. Did anyone sign up?
No.
No? Okay, so we can move forward from that. Next item is report from Christine Reyes on the special needs program.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to go ahead and let Iris start with her report under the NATIO grant for people with disabilities. We are going to report some of the webinars and workshops and activities that program has done, and then we'll go over to my program.
All right, so I'll start. For my program, again, it's on emergency preparedness, specifically focusing on people with disabilities. For my program, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the webinars that we have hosted. So in relation to emergency preparedness, we've done 2 webinars online dealing with the topic of extreme heat. It's important to inform yourself on extreme heat because summer's coming up. I know the weather doesn't look like it's summertime, but we need to prepare ourselves because heat-related illnesses are preventable, and so we should inform our community about those topics. So extreme heat. I also did a presentation in person with Adaptive Aquatics, which they informed the community on water safety, and my portion was extreme heat. So again, like more community involvement on extreme heat. Another training that I did do was for the National Weather Service, and it was on the Skywarn storm spotters. So that kind of elevated my education on the weather conditions, so that I can better prepare on that information to disseminate to the community.
And then we also had a workshop.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to introduce the workshop and then like I can talk about it.
Oh, okay. Our program, just to follow up, echo what Iris was saying, we had an inclusive childcare project that was held on February 25th. This was on a Saturday. It was a 3-hour workshop, and we had 22 learning center facilities attend, and in total of the 66 participants in person at the event. In attendance. We had ECI, which is one of our partners, the Project Niños, provided CEU training on developmental delays and red flags and better being able to distinguish and be able to approach families on these delays in the children that they serve. We had Laredo College Camilo Parada Development Center Director educate the centers on the ASQ screening, how it is applied and how it works for their center. So in case the other learning centers wanted to learn about the pros and cons and how they could better learn about the barriers and challenges that they face so they can overcome it in their centers. Our program also had Iris on site to provide education.
Yes, okay, so what I did is provide education on what is called psychological first aid. Since we are dealing with learning centers, what they see more often in communicable diseases is RSV, COVID-19, and the flu. So in preparation for that, we're still seeing the after effects of these conditions. So what psychological first aid does is based on this idea of 3 aspects. So to listen, protect, and connect. So to listen to the concerns of the parents and the children. To protect, so to find protective services as far as any resources, like meeting their basic needs, and then to connect them with those services. So that's what I educated the learning centers on, because they are the front runners of protecting the children.
Our program created a referral system with these 22 centers to undergo developmental screening. Of course, we advocated about early detection and intervention that is essential for these learning centers to help families. The Road to Recovery, supporting children with intellectual developmental disabilities who have experienced trauma. That's the training program that I was part of, that was co-hosted by the Texas Council of Developmental Disabilities and the Texas Center of Disability Studies. I graduated. So I graduated this last Tuesday, and I'm happy to announce that now I'm a master trainer. So my role in this area will be to conduct 2 trainings per year in our community and provide to providers and the community to be well informed of the resources and new awarenesses that we have to educate them on. Our FSCR program collaborated with our City of Laredo Health Department training specialists We had the state conduct an hearing and vision training for 12 health department employees, as well as 15 nurses from UISD. Of course, this initiative was so that if we were to host any events or be part of any outreaches, we would have these services available, because we know this is something that is going to be incorporated into the evals for them to receive therapy, rehabilitation services. So that was our initiative. Our recent workshops included how sensory issues affect children in school, and we had an additional workshop that was provided to the community that this past month, or actually this month, I was inducted to the CDC's Act Early Ambassadors for Texas Deputy Ambassador with Help Me Grow to the Texas Network for Learn the Signs and Act Early. Again, this is an initiative going into the developmental screenings and project that we have under our master plan. We want to be able to, again, educate the community on being aware of early detection and early intervention. Our program currently has 720 clients for the second quarter. Of course, our target has been reached to 720, but we are continuously growing. So I'm hoping that in our next quarter, we reach the ultimate goal of the year, or exceed the ultimate goal of the year for the state. But again, the response from the state has been very positive of how many families we're able to assist and reach. And we do have an upcoming event. Would you like to go ahead? We have an upcoming event this Saturday. It's going to be hosted at El Eden Recreation Center. The project name is Developmental Screening and Beyond. This screening is going to have 15 clinicians on site being able to screen children for developmental delays. 3 of the screenings that we're doing is the ASQ, which is the basics of delays of motor skills, speech. And then we have our ACQ, which is social emotional. And then we also have the MCHAT, which is the screening, developmental screening for autism, early signs of autism. We've scheduled 50 children to be on site on an appointment base for these clinicians to do the screening. And it's going to be a one-on-one with the families to help educate them on how they could do the screening at home as well. We're also emphasizing that developmental screenings are not just once a year or just once every 3 years. This is a consistent screening that could be done at home if there's any concerns. So that's why we're working one-on-one with each family and educating them. If there are any signs of delays of low risk to high risk, we have pathways in the next area, which is the gym area, that we will have resources. So we're going to have hearing and vision available. We're also going to have PT screenings, OT screenings, speech and language skills, social and emotional behavioral skills. So a lot of these screenings are going to be on site for the families and then also open to the community. The only thing that is closed off now is the appointments for the developmental screenings, because this is a pilot test project and we're seeing how it runs within these 50 appointments. So again, this is a developmental screening and beyond project. Beyond meaning the resources are going to be a one-stop shop for the families. And that's my report.
Hey, Christine, I have a question. Who's doing the PT-OT screenings?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Who's doing the PT-OT screening?
We have Mercy Kids, and then we also have Terapatitos that will be on site.
And what are the ages that you're serving?
We're doing 0 to 5. ASQ, the 3 types of screenings that we have focus on these age levels from 0 to 5.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Does the person have to have insurance, or is there a fee for this, or is this a free?
It's a completely free, it's a free screening. Our goal, again, is that during this screening, each family is going to be provided a communication letter and card to their pediatrician, because this is a supplemental form of pediatricians being able to receive and say there was a low risk or a high risk in this child, so they could be supportive and be part of that system to get them that early detection.
I have a follow-up question. I received 2 calls yesterday regarding children under the age of 2, asking to see if I could look. I said, well, I'm not a screener, I can give you some pointers, but that's it. You said you have a cap of 50. Is there room for more?
Yes, we do. We have our cap, but we do worst case scenario of let's have a max in case someone doesn't make it. We have the opportunity to put them in that list. So you're more than welcome to refer them, and then we
I'll
can
send
set
an
them
email.
up. Yes.
And so the booths are open to the community. It's the one-on-one appointments that we've already capped at. But if someone from the community wanted more information specifically on speech or some sort of screening, they can go and obtain that information through the open booths.
Yeah, and then this is particularly in the area of autism.
It's all areas of development.
No,
So,
I'm talking about the people that I got a call from.
Oh, okay.
Were specifically, they were concerned that their children were showing, I guess.
signs of
Yeah,
autism.
signs of
Yeah,
autism.
the MChat, that's what that screening is for. The good thing about that screening, and I forgot to mention, we've just created an MOA, a Memorandum of Agreement, with the University of Texas for the Neurodevelopment Division. So we're going to have Dr. Zuna, Dr. Venegas, and then other team of clinicians to come down, the trainees, to come
With
down
students.
as students to be able to conduct the screenings. So they, of course, other than them being able to administer, we're going to try to see how we can get local individuals trained in that area so that we can have it here locally. Again, that's along the lines, but they're going to be here assisting us during that event.
That's great.
One last thing. If you're looking to train, you might want to consider partnering with the university. The university has different programs available, and clinicians have to do hours. So it would be great to have homegrown individuals who will eventually want to practice in the city of Laredo.
Definitely.
That's exactly what we're doing with
Yes.
UT.
Yes.
That's good to know.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ruthie.
My question had to do with and you kind of touched on it already. It had to do with the coordination with the pediatricians. And I think you mentioned that somehow you are communicating with them, the results of the screeners.
So the parents will get a form signed by the screener to take to their pediatrician. And that's a CDC form, so it's an official form.
I don't know, in the past, you look at a pediatrician as I guess you would say, a developmental expert. And referrals would then follow from there. I think now we're looking at possibly turning that around where the community, such as Christina's program, will do screeners and then we'll turn around and inform the physician.
Yes.
Is that what we're saying, we're turning that around?
Well, our goal is to be supplemental because we know the pediatricians are overwhelmed in the sense that, being able to do these screenings take about 15 to 30 minutes per individual, and knowing how they're in their doctor visits, it could be a little bit overwhelming in the time frame of being having other individuals scheduled. So our goal, even for the learning centers, because we're collaborating with learning centers, is to be that supplemental assistance, because there are learning centers that are administering the ASQ. And that is the goal, to make sure that the whole support system of that child gets to do that screening, so they look at different perspectives and angles of the child. Just like if a child were to go to a pediatric developmental medicine doctor, they're going to request not only the parent survey, but our teachers, the learning centers, and the whole support system. So we
have to triangulate your assessment.
Yes.
I understand. I'm thinking in terms. As far as I remember, ECI has always had developmental scales that they provide. Is that still the case? Are they still doing that?
Yes, ECI and Scanner are going to be our partners in this project. So ECI will be on site. We have UIZ and Child Find in the school districts there, and Head Start as well. So our goal is ECI is part of they're part of the group of screeners. And of course, the 0 to 2.5 that they're screening, if there is a low to high risk, they're automatically already assessed to go into the program and get referred into the diagnosticians.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much.
I have a question. Unless I'm totally wrong, and my understanding is that kids with autism should be diagnosed before the age of 3.
That's correct.
Okay, typically you need to identify them before then so you can start providing treatment as soon as early as possible for the best benefits.
That's right.
So you made reference that you are screening kids between the age of 0 and 5.
Yes.
Okay, so what happens to the older kids? I'm talking about the kids that have gone beyond the 3-year-old, I guess, timeline or frame that is most beneficial. And I don't know, Dr. Ruthendra, maybe my clinical background is not as sharp as somebody else's here in this room, but that was my understanding.
No, you're right. It's actually a state requirement, and it's a procedural safeguard type thing, protecting our kids with that particular need for services. They require each school district to identify kids with PDD, that's what a physician would call it, or on the spectrum. It is required that by age 3, you not only have to assess, but you have to have a program in place already. So that means that it's so important, and Christina touched on this, that to do the screening early on, before the age of 3. And that would support the requirement the school districts have, that they've got to have a program in place for each child that may be on the spectrum. We've got to get those IEPs, those individualized programs in place for those children by the age of 3. So, I mean, that whole piece of evaluation and getting all of the different heads together, whether it's OT, PT, speech language pathology, teachers, everybody has to get together, do their piece of the assessment, write the report, and have to have the plan proposed and ready to go before the age of 3. So I think it's very important that Christina's looking at, coordinate all these different entities within the community to support the school districts to be able to do what is, people in schools call it 3 is 3, which means you've got to have everything going by the age of 3. Not the day after, not the week after, but before the age of 3.
And echoing what Dr. Rubin just said, our goal is, yes, early detection, early intervention. There could be an environmental factor that could hit the child after age 3. So that's something we take into perspective of making sure that the 3 to 5 get assessed. But not only that, what we're learning in our program is that families are, again, developmental screenings is by their milestones, so what CDC recommends. A lot of families just wait till they go to the pediatrician, or if not, if they are diagnosed with autism or a developmental delay, they just go by the diagnosis and no longer run developmental screenings. And we're trying to educate families, and some of the families we do have scheduled say, my child already has autism, or my child already has a delay, I know that. Why do they need to continue to get screened? Well, we want to see where the progress is. 1 year it could be speech, 1 year it could be social, 1 year it could be physical, but we want to know if there's progress, and you want to know if there's progress, and there's, again, the intervention for it. So what we're also trying to educate families and encourage them to know is that if their child does have a developmental disability or delay, it's still critical for them to get their developmental screening to see where they're at, to see if they're going to need additional assistance. So we look at both areas of new children getting the developmental screenings and those already exposed to it that have a diagnosis. So our goal is, again, the education behind it, and then also work towards the provider side of making sure that, later on during the year, having a workshop to educate them on our initiative, and then also of new awarenesses and resources that CDC is providing us, the state is providing us, because, again, they're going to be the ultimate support and decision making for the child to progress in their intervention.
Christina, 2 pieces to that. I'm thinking in terms of pediatricians. When they diagnose, they don't tell parents spectrum. They will say PDD. And it's not until they get into these other assessments that we use that language. Then another thing about follow-up and ongoing assessment to address changing needs for each child. Thank God that schools are required to do that as well. So that's built into school programs.
Yes, and I know a while back in several of our meetings we've discussed surveillance options, right? I know we're already acting on that work plan of the surveillance part of being able to run projects like this to see if there's a newly diagnosed child at the age of 3 or 4 to start working on that system and getting them, again, that support system from our program and other state resources. I know in previous research with the CDC, one of their main concerns is late detection. Again, late detection happens if a child is diagnosed with a delay. They go into the school system and they continuously they don't go into the developmental screening to see if there's any other concerns. And these screenings, again, are not just 1, but 5 that the CDC recommend. We still have yet to bring the behavioral one, which is also an impact to the MCHAT, which is the autism recognition. But again, we're working to see how we can alleviate, but still give these resources to those that are already lately diagnosed.
And I could briefly interject. So this is a pilot program. This is the first kind of one-stop shop. I think Christine's done a very good job in incorporating all the different partners that could serve as safety nets for those children that, again, might have a late diagnosis, to get them into care fairly quickly. So she can provide a more extensive report on the outcomes of the event. We do welcome you to, promote within your agencies the fact that we will have this resource on Saturday at El Eden Recreation Center in South Laredo from 9 to 1. But for the sake of time, and I'm going to be kind of the back cop here, maybe we can touch on the other items. And if you guys have additional questions or comments on our effort here, I do welcome to connect with Christine maybe after the meeting.
Ms. Erica, just a quick caveat. When you're looking at behavioral issues for kids on the spectrum, look at their ability to communicate, because many times maladaptive behavior is out of frustration because the child cannot communicate their needs. So sometimes when you look at the behavioral piece, please also consider looking at the speech, because many times it's frustration from not getting their needs met. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just a quick point of order, I think we did skip through item 4. Tiffany, for next time, we can still number the items. I know we put in the time, but then we lost the number. So item 4 was introduction of new member, but I did want to tell the committee, she did mention that she was unable to attend today, so we'll move this item to next meeting if that's okay with you, Mr. Chair.
Sure, and I inadvertently didn't see it, so.
Yeah, I think it's the numbering thing, don't worry about it.
So yeah, I was gonna make reference to it right now. But anyway, going back to my original question that I brought up about the 3 years, it was primarily just based on the idea that what happens to those children that are at 4 and 5 now and are being identified. And so I'm glad to hear that we're still providing the services to them regardless.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is discussion with possible action regarding all kinds of mines master plan.
Okay, as you know, the health department did present to city council our first draft of the all kinds of mines. That was something that was shared with you all last meeting, which is why we ran a little bit long. But a similar, more concise presentation was provided to council. It was approved by them. And that is why we're following a lot of the initiatives through Christine's program is in line with that. We are adapting the HRSA Blueprint for Change. We are moving forward with the partnering of the private sector. So we're about to launch. It's scheduled to launch June 1st through the building department on that pledge for private businesses to pledge that they want to be more inclusive and that they're willing to participate in training. And then depending on the numbers of trainings that they complete, they will be designated either bronze, silver, or gold status. So we are launching those initiatives. We do continue to look at what else can be incorporated to this master plan. I know there's other things that have been brought up by the committee, by the Autism Coalition, and by council. So the City of Laredo Health Department will continue to work on that, to start tagging on additional documentation to that master plan so that it does become a resource for the community.
I have a question. For businesses that are already servicing individuals with special needs, will they have to go through the same training as everyone else?
We would recommend them to because we want them to, again, just be up to par. It's like like our program itself, we go through the yearly trainings every 2 years. But those existing businesses, the way we're reaching out to them is through, of course, partners like Chamber of Commerce to work on webinars and workshops to educate already existing businesses.
Because I brought it up with someone and she says, but I'm already servicing. And I told him, I said, I don't know, but I'll find out. So thank you.
Yes.
Next item is the Autism Coalition meeting times and dates. If I'm not mistaken, I think the coalition meeting for autism is tomorrow.
Yes, it's gonna be every Thursday at 11 a.m. Sorry, every third Thursday of the month at
Every
11 a.m.
third Thursday.
So the
Yes, so
reason
it'll
that
be-
this is on the agenda is because we did poll the members and we just felt it was more prudent for us to meet with the Blue Ribbon Committee members first, and whatever action the committee takes, then we would go ahead and follow up with the Autism Coalition, give them an update, and provide the directive of the Blue Ribbon Committee.
The next item is letter C is recap of presentation to Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities.
So as many of you know, I had the honor to present to the Governor's Committee on People with Disabilities that happened at Laredo College last month. It was very well received. It was the presentation that you saw. It was kind of a mix between the presentation that you saw last month with the presentation we provided to council. They were very happy with our efforts here locally. There were some members from all across Texas talking about wanting more information to see how they can implement the master plan type of mentality or initiative in their community. So that was very encouraging to hear. They did ask, what our challenges were as well. So we did talk about, lack of providers, the fact that we're medically underserved, the fact that we might not have a good data set of incidents in our community for certain conditions, or specifically with autism spectrum disorder that's been brought up by the Autism Coalition. So it was a very good discussion. They did provide some guidance that they are looking to unite all of the committees across Texas, people with disabilities, the local committees, so that they can then, via their chair, provide a routine report to the Governor's Committee and then act on whatever items they see come up from the different communities. So overall, I think was a very successful presentation and discussion, and we're definitely looking to continue that partnership with the members and the staff of that committee.
Okay, just to recap, I know that Diana as well as Ceci were there. Thank you for being there.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I was able to go in the afternoon, and again, just to reiterate, they were very happy with the presentation, and they did mention that there's a number of things that we're doing here that they would like to disperse or disseminate against the entire state. So that was good. And so I'm glad I was able to go. They have very interesting subjects that they touch on.
They sure did. So my understanding, right, because, what is the purpose of the committee, traveling to the, areas? And so the two things that were mentioned, of course, was to highlight innovative and identify service gaps and resources needed. So, that's what they do. They go around and they go to these cities. What are you doing? What are your best practices? What could we learn? And as well, what are they doing that maybe we're not doing down here? So it was really good.
And we'll continue to share the meetings. They are also provided via Zoom. So for the next, and they are open. So we'll continue to provide via Tiffany any information that we obtain from the Governor's Committee, so that the committee members here have access either to the meetings or whatever information is coming down the pipeline from them.
So does the Governor's Committee meet monthly, quarterly, yearly? What?
I think they meet quarterly.
All right. Okay, the next item is the recap of meeting with Mayor Trevino on the ribbon committee and other concerns. You all recall the reason that initiated that meeting was because there was an item on the city council agenda that said something to the effect that they were going to develop an ad hoc committee to address special needs, the needs for individuals with special needs, and so it sounded very much like our own mission and vision for this organization. So when we met with the mayor, my question was, I'm concerned because some of the members are saying, well, what are we doing? It looks like a redundancy of services or redundancy of agenda items. And so I told him, well, we asked you to speak to us because either several things occurred. You're new, to your job, and you may not have realized that we already existed. You may not know what we do, or the last one is maybe you're very unhappy with us. And he said, neither one of the three, neither one, nothing, it has nothing to do with that. He says, we may just overlook the fact that you already existed, and so the bottom line is that he's coming into a new, as the most recent mayor, and so yes, it would be understandable that yes, he's not expected to know everything that goes on in the city, so that was, he kind of like addressed our concerns about that, but some other concerns that were brought up is items that we've spoken about in the past having to do with air quality and the issue that we have with a local organization that exploits or is emitting poisonous gases into our system. And I think Dr. Ruthinger had the more educated conversation with him about that. So Dr. Ruthinger, I'm going to preview if you can address that, having to do with the monitors and the discrepancy between the Texas Clean Air Agency and the federal level agency.
Daniel, I thought you did an excellent job presenting to the mayor in a very succinct way what our concerns were regarding the ad hoc committee and our mission statement for this group. I think that got really crystallized and clarified. Moving on, I'll keep it short. I was very impressed with the knowledge that the mayor already had, and I was very happy that his son, Victor, attended because he had incredible information, more recent information than I had. He talked about, real quick, I'll tell you a quick story. There is a very affluent community, and he said it was right outside of, was it Dallas or Houston, sir? Was it Houston?
It was Dallas.
Do you recall?
I think it's Dallas.
I think it's Dallas.
I think it's Dallas, it's Plano.
That's right, something like that. But there was a group of very affluent, and a lot of them pediatric physicians because they have a lot of pediatric hospitals around. And he explained that when a company such as the one that we're having problems with near Laredo showed up, it only took 3 months for them to send them on their way, and they got clean air again for their families. But he also cited a research article penned by a group of researchers at Harvard that attested to the fact that, and he used the word white, that white affluent communities create a lot of pollution, but the ones that bear the weight of the pollution are usually people like us. Communities like ours, Hispanic, people of color, we end up with the brunt of carrying the heaviness of what that is. And you mentioned, our chair asked, why was this company allowed to even come to our community in 2005? And they said because at that time, they were only sterilizing 50% of all of the hospital equipment, medical equipment. And so I asked, where are we now? What percentage of medical equipment are they sterilizing? And he said, approximately 40%. So you see the increase, and yet, Victor explained to us, he said, his son, our mayor's son, he explained to us, and they're stating that the emission rate is the same, 2005 and now. But guys, logically, how can that be? If you were, creating poisonous byproducts through the sterilization process of 50% of all, now you've gone up to 40%. My question logically is, how can you say that you're emitting the same low levels? Further, they're not even measuring. They are required to measure, and one of the things he explained to us is, well, if it were a nuclear plant, they would be measuring, right? They would have to measure. He says, and yet this, because it's odorless and because we can't see it or smell it, they're not even measuring the emissions. So, and the other piece of it was TCEQ is not helping at this point, and the National Environmental Commission are saying that we have a big problem, and yet the Texas CEQ is not helping the community. So I don't know what the answer is, guys. Maybe you all do, or I don't know. I know that the people who live in communities that are affluent can get rid of, the poison in the air in 3 months. But we have been living with it since 2005, and I wish I had the answer, because I want the air to be clean for everybody, especially for the children and people with disabilities and children with disabilities. I mean, some of us have immune systems that are not as strong as others. And I think that's an important charge for each one of us, and yet I don't have the answer. I wish I did.
What was interesting was that he said that the organization, the city of Plano, the company that was emitting poisonous gases, their levels and our levels, our levels are higher and their levels were lower at the time. And yet
We're at 33% of what we're having to deal with now. 33% of what we're breathing.
And they were
And
able
they
to
got rid of
shut them down. And so they are emitting much higher levels
Three times as much.
and we haven't been able to do anything. And again, it's usual. He made reference to the fact that it's all about money and politics, okay, and how it takes time, if at all, to try to make a reversal of the situation that we have right now. But apparently, right now at this point, they're not even monitoring the emissions. It's just very behind. It's very delayed, and so literally, it's like starting from scratch right now. And so let's see where this takes us. But apparently, there doesn't seem to be any kind of change that we will be able to see in the next several months or even the next several years. And so,
I know that they were going to meet on Friday, the Friday after we met with the Texas Environmental Protection Agency, TCEQ. The mayor stated we're going to give them one more chance to do the right thing and to start measuring the emissions. But I don't know what the results were from that meeting.
Can I add something?
absolutely.
I wanted to add something. We did meet when we met with the mayor. He did listen to some of our concerns, and one of them was bringing equity in individuals with disabilities in as far when it came to employment. And he said he was going to be meeting with the new city manager, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. And so that really brings us to a point where, it levels the playing field for opportunity. The city is in a progressive state where they're learning how to navigate the system, and I think sometimes, especially me, I have a tendency to really push. And I might not always make them happy, but they're very receptive in working with us. It just takes a little bit. There are little bumps in the road, but he did say, that's one of the things that we want to bring in. So I wanted to bring that up because it's a good idea.
No,